You're watching Scriptease. In today's episode, we're looking at how to introduce the Antihero. You can expect minor character arc spoilers for Dexter, House of Cards, Killing Eve, and Barry, so I suggest you watch these shows before watching this video. In modern film conversation, protagonists often get a bad rap. You'll hear that the protagonist is fine and all, but the antagonist is usually far more compelling to watch, or the sidekick is much funnier, or the mentor has more thought-provoking lines. And the sad thing is, that's true a lot of the time. In a lot of films, the protagonist is simply used as an audience viewpoint character, someone whose objectives, morals, and knowledge we can relate to, enabling us to enter the fictional world. And as the viewpoint character, their actions and opinions can often be watered down to make them an everyman, someone who contrasts the more radical actions and opinions of their supporting cast. And that's a shame, because we spend most of our time with the protagonists. Don't we want to be compelled by them, to watch their every step with keen interest, to be surprised by them, to root for them, to feel for them? Yes, we should. So as a screenwriter, how do we get the audience to care about our protagonist? One common tactic that is spread throughout the industry is to create an anti-hero. The anti-hero is a protagonist that lacks stereotypical heroic qualities. The anti-hero may not be chivalrous or kind or brave, but they still hold the key attribute that creates a protagonist. Their goal sets the trajectory for the story, and therefore their actions drive the plot forward. They're still ambitious like our regular heroes, but this ambition is fueled by pride or lust or wrath. But why is this any more exciting for the viewer? Films are escape fantasies. They allow us to live out stories that transcend our mundane day-to-day lives. In our normal lives, not every good action is rewarded. Our accomplishments can be overlooked, our achievements undermined, our efforts crushed by overwhelming obstacles. So two fantasies exist to break this reality: the hero and the anti-hero. The hero is rewarded for their good deeds. They overcome an objective evil and are praised for it, revered. The anti-hero, however, breaks convention to overcome their obstacles. They lie, steal, cheat, and murder their way to their goal. If the world won't reward them for acting with moral integrity, then they'll dispense with it entirely. Seeing these anti-heroes get to enact our darkest fantasies by rebelling against their family, their superiors, and their society, that's escapism, even if it's not as pretty as the hero's version. Now, anti-heroes aren't new, not by a long shot. Michael Corleone in The Godfather, Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry, they're all classic examples of the anti-hero in film. But here in the golden era of television, we have an explosion of anti-heroes. Walter White in Breaking Bad, Hank Moody in Californication, Nicholas Brody in Homeland, the Jennings in The Americans, 70% of the characters in Game of Thrones, Don Draper in Mad Men, David Brent in The Office, BoJack Horseman in, well, BoJack Horseman, Gregory House in House, Jackie Payton in Nurse Jackie, Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. I mean, seriously, do I need to go on? Yes, I do, because I've left out some examples I'd like to focus on today. Some examples of fantastic introductions to our modern anti-heroes. These introductions establish the perverse condition that afflicts our anti-hero. What is the societal taboo that they most frequently break? The audience needs to understand this right off the bat so that we can come to terms with it, and then dig into the motivation behind these extreme deviations. Let's start with a classic archetype of the anti-hero in modern TV: Dexter Morgan. In the absolute simplest terms, Dexter is a vigilante. He works with the Miami Metro Police Department as a blood splatter analyst, which gives him access to police intel, which he then uses to track down serial killers that, for one reason or another, can't be brought to justice by the system. Dexter meticulously plans his kills, leaves almost no evidence, and then repeats the cycle. Now, of course, this makes Dexter a serial killer as well. At a young age, he killed animals, and his adoptive father, Harry, realized that Dexter was a serial killer in the making. His lack of emotional connection to other people, his controlling tendencies, and his need for violence were a toxic combination. Harry decided to channel Dexter's traits towards a good cause, making the best out of a bad situation. When presenting this character to the audience, screenwriter James Manos Jr. has the task of getting us to understand and agree with the actions of a serial killer. He accomplishes this by establishing a relative scale. Yes, Dexter is a killer, but the guy he kills in the opening scene is a child killer.
I couldn't help myself. Please, you have to understand.
Trust me, I definitely understand. See, I can't help myself either. Children, I could never do that. Not like you. Never. Ever. Kids.
We want this guy to die, and Dexter kills him for us. Suddenly, we're on Dexter's side. But not just that. Manos asks us to challenge our own ingrained beliefs by first positing Dexter as the freak. The choir master seems to be an all-American man, a stand-up guy. We think he's about to get killed by a psycho. We're then made to feel guilty for jumping to conclusions, and our minds are open to the possibility that what Dexter does may actually be a good thing. The other huge aid to Manos' message is the use of narration. With such a radical character, there's a certain need to delve as deep into the character's psyche as possible. An internal monologue helps achieve this, as Dexter explains what he is, what he likes, what he wants.
People fake a lot of human interactions, but I feel like I fake them all, and I fake them very well. But I'm hungry for something different now. Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again and again. Has to happen.
It's a part of him, he can't help it. Yet throughout the series, we'll see him try to get back to normalcy, try to build relationships. The opening scene here establishes the status quo, builds intrigue in the character, and also makes the show unique from its contemporaries. Fast forward to 2013, and we have House of Cards. The TV landscape is vastly different, and suddenly anti-heroes are practically becoming the norm. Screenwriter Beau Willimon opens this political thriller with our protagonist, Frank Underwood, killing a dog. Of course, if you're more generous with your evaluation, you might describe it as putting the dog out of its misery, but this is really a matter of perspective. To Frank, he simply doesn't mind getting his hands dirty for the right cause.
Moments like this require someone who will act. Who will do the unpleasant thing, the necessary thing.
Frank's asides serve two purposes. Like with Dexter's narration, they give us an insight into the mind of a radical character, but they also reveal Frank's true feelings. Even when he is lying and manipulating other people, the audience almost always knows what Frank is really after, as he smiles and winks at us. Another beautiful detail here is how presidential Frank sounds. His asides are like speeches in themselves. They are delivered with certainty, with persuasion. They're like life lessons, he's so sure of their truth. He talks like a rhetorician. Like with Dexter, this introduction demonstrates what Frank is best at, this pragmatic and dogmatic assertiveness and ruthlessness, whilst also foreshadowing his greatest flaw, that the actions he takes are often to the detriment of those around him. Now let's fast forward another 5 years to 2018. The Antihero is still alive and well, featuring in two of the season's best shows, Killing Eve and Barry. Let's start with Killing Eve. I'm cheating a little bit here because really, Killing Eve has two protagonists, Eve Polastri and Villanelle. Today I'm just going to focus on Villanelle, our psychopathic assassin. Villanelle lives an indulgent lifestyle. Her ability to kill has afforded her expensive clothes, perfumes, jewelry. She's stylish, beautiful, intelligent, funny. But all of that and all of her money can't buy her the one thing she wants, the ability to connect. She wants to be loved, yet she lacks the ability to love. She is, in many ways, childish, selfish. Like with a child, it's fun to watch, but as my mum says, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. Villanelle kills people with no remorse. In any other story, she would be purely evil. This clash between her childish antics and her cruel assassinations is what keeps our eyes glued to Villanelle. Screenwriter Phoebe Waller-Bridge captures this juxtaposition perfectly in the opening pages of the script. Villanelle sits in an ice cream parlor, indulging in a large, elaborate ice cream, 3 flavors with all the trimmings. She makes an unconvincing smile at the little girl sitting across from her, with no response. Then she observes the guy behind the counter smiling, a genuine smile, which gets the girl to smile in kind. Villanelle learns and replicates the smile, finally getting a smile out of the little girl. Then, as she exits the parlor, she dumps the girl's ice cream onto her lap and waltzes out, not at all concerned. It's a little game to her, she plays it well, but ultimately it doesn't satisfy her because she knows her smile wasn't real, and so she acts out, like a child might. We also see by her fashion and how she carries herself that she's confident, stylish, in control. The guy behind the counter is caught off guard by her beauty, flummoxed. In less than 2 minutes, the character of Villanelle is perfectly established, and we're captivated not only by her style, but by the cruel punchline at the end of the scene. When compared to Villanelle, Barry is a very different kind of assassin. He isn't indulgent, he isn't dramatic, he isn't stylish. He just gets the work done, then moves on. Barry isn't enticed by acting because he has a flair for the dramatic, it's because of the adoration each performer receives from their peers. He is enchanted by the friendships they share, that they hang out together afterwards at a bar, that they support each other. And yet simultaneously, he is pushed away from acting, because to act, you need to be honest, and to tell his fellow actors his own truth, his own day-to-day existence, is unthinkable. All of these concepts are introduced in the opening pages of the pilot by screenwriters Bill Hader and Alec Berg. The way Barry kills is almost mundane. We start with Barry just after a kill, and it's then followed by a series of day-to-day activities that are not only boring, but sad. The scenes play out differently in the actual episode, but the effect is the same. We get that killing holds no excitement for Barry. He might as well be in a beige office cubicle. His work is devoid of human interaction. Barry is one lonely dude. All of these anti-heroes are very different despite their penchant for death. Dexter is clinical and dark, Frank is pragmatic and ruthless, Villanelle is extravagant and childish, Barry is lackluster and reserved. At their darkest, they all have the capacity to kill, which is reprehensible, but we're also shown that they still have some redeemable quality. Dexter is a vigilante, Frank is ambitious, Villanelle wants acceptance, and Barry tries to escape his life as a killer. When we watch a hero, we want to see them overcome their flaw to succeed. It's exactly the same draw with an anti-hero, it's just that they're more vice than virtue. Instead of hoping they overcome their flaw, we're instead hoping that they can embrace their strengths. As the saying goes, often attributed to American author John Barth, everyone is necessarily the hero of their own story. The protagonist we're watching could be the antagonist to anyone else. Dexter is the Bay Harbor butcher, the antagonist to detectives at the Miami Metro Police Department. Frank is underhanded and corrupt, an antagonist to every other politician in DC, not to mention the citizens. Villanelle literally acts for the first part of killing Eve as the antagonist to Eve, the killer that she needs to catch. And Barry's not even important enough in other people's lives to be considered an antagonist. He's really just a hired gun. My point here is protagonist, antagonist, hero, anti-hero, these are all just relative labels. What's more important is making every character, no matter what their role is in your story, believable. They should all have flaws and desires, and framing these desires as objectives for the audience to be invested in, that comes later. The introductions we've looked at today often play with this perspective. This allows for a twist right out of the gate, building intrigue in the character. We like watching people that are mysterious or unique or surprising, and that's what the anti-hero archetype is great at. We probably won't get a warm fuzzy feeling by the time the story is over like we might with our hero, but we'll get some open-mouthed gasps of shock along the way as our morbid curiosity drags us through to the end. So go write your own anti-heroes, create a despicable character, and then try to redeem them, to give them some glimmer of hope that the audience can hold on to. Good writing and good luck.